Alright, so I'm playing a rapid match today against International Master Mat Bobula. He's also a streamer, and he's currently streaming, I believe, or is about to start. And yeah, we've decided to play a 4-game match. The time control is G15 with 10-second increment. And okay, I'm just making sure all of my settings are good. And yeah, he sent me a challenge, so here we go. We are getting started. Hopefully everything is working okay. Let me make sure that yeah, everything looks good. Okay, cool. Yeah, as you can see, I outrate him by quite some number of points, but that's just because he probably hasn't played much of this time control online. And so he's still at 1600. But no, this is clearly a strong player. We played once before, actually at a classical game a few years ago. That game was drawn, and yeah, I'm not sure what his FIDE rating is. I think it's about 2400, pretty close to mine. So I feel like we're pretty evenly matched. So I was quite excited when he messaged me and asked to play a couple of games, because I knew it would be a good experience. I get to prepare for the games, which is always useful, and then I think the match will be quite exciting itself and useful overall. So yeah, quite happy to be here. All right, hey Braden Laughlin. Well, I wrote a book. My book was on the Open Sicilian, so it was a full repertoire from White's point of view. And yeah, the Scheveningen was covered there as well. Okay, so he's going for the fianchetto system. This is basically what I expected. I did a little bit of preparation for the match, just checking out some of his games. He's pretty consistent with his opening, so he's done this against the King's Indian for many years. He has a lot of experience in this type of position, so I was pretty much expecting to get this with black. And yeah, it's a short match, only 4 games. So, okay, I'm gonna go for the recent line I've been playing, knight c6, and then after knight c3, I am probably gonna go for this line I've been playing recently, that I think is pretty popular. Well, at this point, Braden, I mean, the book was released in 2015, so it was like 4 years ago. I still think a lot of it still holds up as far as the theory goes, and the book was written to be more of a repertoire, so a repertoire for players who are not exactly like super GMs, which means that we wanted to choose lines that would be playable, and you don't have to memorize all the theory. It would be enough to just understand some ideas and some thematic motifs, and be able to play against any Sicilian just based on knowing, you know, what you're playing for. But at this point, yeah, I mean, there might be much better repertoire works out there, especially like on Chessable. I feel like there's a lot of stuff for facing the Sicilian. Okay, knight c3 and e5. Yeah, this is the big trendy line lately. I've played it a few times. I've played it quite a bit in Blitz. I think it's a really, leads to some really interesting positions. White could also have chosen d takes e5, but he pushes. I'm going to go back knight b8, and the idea is to go a5, knight a6, and eventually put the knight either on c5 or b4. So I feel like this is quite playable for black. Okay, we'll see what he goes for here. I mean, main move here is e4 for white, just taking the center, not allowing black to play e4. Maybe he has some other ideas about how to play this position. Hey, Eros Lex, thanks for checking out the stream. Yeah, everyone is always, you know, saying like, oh, they should be studying more openings or they should be doing more tactics. But yeah, those things, they don't get your rating up. What gets your rating up is playing good moves. So yeah, long known piece of wisdom. And by the way, he is streaming, like I mentioned, so you can check out his channel if you want to watch the stream side by side. I believe he's just under his username, Mat Bobula, so twitch.tv/Mat Bobula. His full name is Matuz, which I've always liked. Such a good name, but I guess he just goes by Matt. Okay, e4, a5. Now, typical idea for white is to play exactly knight e1, knight d3. So it looks like he's going for this plan. And I'm going to keep following my book here with knight f, d7. Okay, no need for the f. Knight d7 is good enough. And actually, the point is to often bring this knight to c5, and then we're ready to exchange, and I land with this knight on c5. Pawn often goes to b6, and then eventually I'm playing for like typical kingside play with f5. So far I feel quite comfortable here. I'm still well in my book. There is a very natural move here for white to play f4, but I think it's quite dubious. So hopefully we'll see it. That would be nice. But somehow I doubt it. I actually had a game, I think, in the database where someone played f4, and I feel like I mean, I didn't win convincingly, but I had a good position from the opening. So if my opponent checked my games, which I have no idea if he did or not, but if he did, then he might have seen that one, would rightly avoid it here. But we'll see. It's possible he did not do much preparation. I really have no idea how much he knows about my repertoire, what he's expecting. I play a lot of my main lines, you know, just online, because I don't really care about like hiding prep or whatever. I think it's more about just trying to understand the position and playing good moves. So I don't know if he checked my games or not. Oh, and he does go for f4. Wow, it's okay. Definitely surprising, but a very pleasant surprise, because I feel like these positions are actually just, I think black is already fighting for an advantage here. Well, I'm gonna take on f4, but I think I'm gonna spend a second here because I don't want him to think that I'm like super aware of this line. So I'm just gonna take a second here and try to just try to bluff that I don't know this move, and maybe he'll be convinced by that. But okay, I am gonna take on f4. Then after bishop takes f4, I think knight b4 is a good move there, just trying to exchange off this knight and fight for the e5 square. And if he goes g takes f4, then I believe the right move is f5. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take it. I spent 53 seconds here, so we'll see. I mean, I guess it didn't really matter. I could have just played the move. Maybe it would have been more intimidating if I just snapped e takes f4, but maybe not. I don't know. It's always hard to tell how much you should let your opponent know whether you're still in book or not. There's always pros and cons to this kind of thing. Okay, so now white has a choice here. But g takes f4. This kind of runs into f5. And then if e takes f5, rook takes f5, and then white just has like a really weak structure. Bishop takes f4 seems more logical, just to keep the pieces in the center, but then if white does that, he's going to be giving up the e5 square, which is kind of important. And then I think black is just getting like a very good version. It's kind of like a King's Indian hybrid Benoni type of opening. But after bishop takes f4, I think I'll just stick with my move that I played before, knight b4. So I think black just gets a slightly better position. Just trying to first trade off this guy for my knight on a6, and then just planting my knight on e5. Yeah, let's go for that. And I mean, I think black is very, very comfortable here, but still have to play good moves. Alright, getting a little bit of a time edge on the clock actually. 4 minutes is no joke in a rapid game. Doesn't really mean a whole lot, but means the trend is in my favor, as yeah, I'm still in my book. Like I know about the position. I know what the approximate computer evaluation is. I know what black's next 1 or 2 moves should be. But it's not a whole lot, so but it is something. Okay, now I have a choice. I feel like in the previous game, did I play a4? I don't really remember. I feel like a4 though would be a very useful move, and I don't really see anything wrong with this. So I think I should go for this and just fix his structure. Now in the long run, this is actually how I won my previous game in this line. This bishop is always just bearing down on this pawn, and so there are a lot of endgames where the bishop is just putting so much pressure. And in the previous game I keep mentioning, I ended up winning with like rook and bishop versus rook and bishop endgame, where it was actually just almost hopeless for white because my bishop was always threatening to take this pawn, and then if that pawn falls, and so does the a3 pawn, and then the a pawn becomes very strong. So this is kind of like a long-term liability for white. That said, we still have a lot of moves before the endgame. Okay, so queen c2. I guess he's starting to take on a4, so natural move would be to just play knight to c5. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. e5 is still under control. I would expect something like rook ae1 here, trying to play for e5, but then I think I'm in time with just queen e7. e5 I can take with the bishop, and looks like white doesn't get enough for the pawn there. So yeah, let's do that. Now that I think about it, maybe I should have gone for knight e5 actually, forcing the queen to e2 and then played a4, and I can get my bishop to d7. Maybe that would have been a more harmonious setup, but okay, it's too late to worry about that now. I still feel like my position is very reasonable. My next move is like bishop d7, then I might go rook ae8, king h8. So I have a lot of moves still to improve my position. But from white's point of view, yeah, it's not clear to see what white is really playing for here. I mean, he can put his knight on b5, but doesn't necessarily go anywhere from there. Knight b5 is somewhat annoying because it kind of prevents bishop d7, although in some cases it doesn't, because I can just maybe go bishop d7, knight takes, rook ac8, knight will have to go back to b5, I take, and then maybe I have some discovery, but I don't really see it in this exact case what I would be doing. So yeah, I'm not sure if I can really meet it with bishop d7. But that does feel like the move white should play here, because otherwise I feel like black's play is just super easy. And in the long run, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of playing against this bishop, which is not a great piece. Though I do have to be careful. If I ever exchange this guy like on b5, then maybe the bishop can one day become alive. We're kind of a long ways away from that. All right, he's thinking. So I feel good. I mean, this is a match. All right, he does come up with knight b5. So I'm not under a ton of pressure to try and win this game. Draw would be perfectly satisfactory result. Okay, now it's time to come up with a move. I could play, well, bishop e5. Yeah, I think he can take, and then I wouldn't really want to take with the pawn there. Bishop g4 runs into h3. Bishop d7. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that just yet. I could play just a move like king h8, but yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm doing there. h5 is also possible. Because then if he plays h4, I can plant my bishop on g4. But then bishop g5 would become an issue, potentially. Queen d7. Yeah, not sure. Could also just play like rook d8 and c6, just to kick the knight. Yeah, not sure. And then I have moves like knight b3 as well. Maybe knight b3 threatening some knight d4 somewhere, perhaps. Yeah, tough call. I'm not really sure here. Kind of like the idea of just playing bishop g4, h3, and then pulling back, even all the way to c8. But it seems a little much just to try to weaken the g3 pawn, because then my idea would be g5 and like bishop e5 and targeting this one maybe. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't really know if I should go for it, but I feel like white doesn't have a ton of moves anyway, so maybe it's worth it. Yeah, giving back a lot of time here, but I feel like it's kind of worth it right now because I want to be able to get a decent position. Yeah, I feel like white wouldn't really be happy with these weaknesses, so I'm going to make this move. And I don't think he's going to want to play h3 here, but I feel like he doesn't really have a ton of other moves. And then I'm still thinking about just going back bishop d7, knight takes c7, rook a c8, knight b5, take, knight b3, queen goes somewhere. Queen b1 maybe. I feel like I have some very clear compensation. I think I should just go for that actually. I feel like that position would be really interesting to play. Bishop d7, take, rook c8, take, knight b3. If he goes queen b1, I can go like knight d4. I have ideas to play g5, bishop e5. Not sure I really need this. I could also just go back bishop c8, but yeah, I'm just very curious about this position, and I feel like it's very ambitious as well. So I'm gonna do it. And now if he doesn't take on c7, then I'm kind of just able to develop for free. I'm certainly interested in taking on b5. So he's kind of committed here, I think, to take on c7. yeah, I feel like I get good compensation, so I'm not too worried about going down a pawn. It's kind of like what Magnus has been doing with his games in the Svechnikov, just always willing to give up a pawn for some positional compensation. So I feel like it was the right call. I wish I had decided on it a little bit quicker, but that's okay. Now he's probably wondering, like, wow, free pawn? To what do I owe the pleasure of this free pawn? But I don't know. I feel like maybe not so easy. And I also feel like I'm gonna be able to target that pawn on b5. So I don't feel like I'm really in danger of going down a pawn. Alright, he goes for it. Which I mean, I think he kind of had to do, otherwise White would really just not have a lot of fun in the position. Now I'm hoping I didn't miss any resources here, but I was looking, yeah, for bishop d6 stuff. I didn't quite see it. So let's take here. Okay, bishop d4 check. I don't see the point. Yeah, I just want to play knight b3, I think. Knight e6, I don't think I really want to take. And okay, we'll see where he puts the queen. So now, yeah, I just figured it was kind of awkward for him because he should keep the b2 pawn defended. If he goes queen e2, I have knight d4. If he goes queen b1, then he's kind of passive. But so I feel like I just get compensation there. Maybe I play g5 or knight d4. And yeah, so I have a couple of ideas I'm looking for here. One idea is to play g5, bishop e3, bishop e5, or even queen e5 and just kind of targeting the dark squares. Then if king h2, I just go h5 and h4 and just putting a lot of pressure on the g3 pawn. Hey, Chessboard Abs, thanks for hosting. Awesome. Much appreciated. Okay, queen f2. So he's not afraid of bishop d4 because he has bishop e3. Certainly makes sense. g5, bishop e3 as well. Yeah, this seems like a good move. Okay, so now let's try. I should try to figure out what my compensation is here. So let's see. I could go after the pawn with something like rook c5. He doesn't really have any immediate threats. So I could just go rook c5, rook takes b5. And then try to target the pawn. I also like rook c5 with the idea of just doubling on the c file and then going for sort of rook c2 business. Let's see, rook c5, bishop e3, take. Doesn't seem to have anything there. Could also play knight d4, but I don't want to take the pawn with my knight. Knight d4 would be more to get rook c2 in. But queen e3. Okay, there's also rook c1 I have to keep in mind. Yeah, knight d4, rook c1. So I think I should try to double. Double with rook c5. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have to go for this, but it's too late to to second guess the pawn sacrifice. I still feel like black is a reasonable position, but maybe I could have had a reasonable position without without risking anything. But that's not how I play chess, you know. I feel like if you know what the best move is, then you should just try to make it. Doesn't matter who your opponent is. Doesn't matter if it's a pawn sacrifice or if it's not your usual style. I think playing ambitiously is usually the way to go in the long run. Okay, g4. Yeah, I was wondering about this move because he wants to probably play queen g3 and target the d6 pawn. So I could just play bishop e5, just go full-blown positional sacrifice mode. I kind of like this idea because it makes things harder for him. I can also go g5, but then bishop e3, and I'll have given up the f5 square. So that seems quite dangerous. I can also take on b5, queen g3, bishop e5, and go for the endgame. But endgame should be good for black. I mean, I'll have this d4 square for my knight. I feel very comfortable there, I think. So I could just take on b5. If queen g3, I go bishop e5, takes, queen takes. Then he can go for the endgame. But his bishop on g2 will be bad. I'll have knight d4, b2 pawn will be hanging. I mean, the d pawn is potentially dangerous, but with my knight on d4, I think it'll be very hard for white to push it. Maybe white is okay, but somehow I feel like black should have better chances in this endgame. I can also just play bishop d4 and force the trade of bishops right now without having to play de5, which I'm not sure if I want to or not. So bishop d4, bishop e3, take on b3, but then e5. Yeah, he kind of just breaks through there. So yeah, let's take here. And queen g3, I'm just going to go bishop e5. And we'll see what this endgame is. I mean, I could still take with the pawn. There's no reason I have to trade off the queens. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe I should keep the queens on the board. Maybe black has more dynamic chances with the queens on. Hey, IM George. Nah, I feel like I should go for the endgame. Let's play in a technical style. Now, if he lets me, I would like to play f6 here. King g7, just kind of solidify on the dark squares. My knight can come to d4. I'm going to target the b2 pawn. I would also like to get the c file. So I have a lot of dreams here. That is the nice thing about this knight on b3, actually. It's covering the c1 square. So if I want to, I can just dominate the c file. Somehow I feel like I'm slightly more comfortable here. I don't know what the objective evaluation is. Definitely do not tell me. Please, no computer lines or evaluations in the chat. I mean, you guys are usually pretty good about that, but just in case anyone, sometimes people, they just want to be helpful, and so I say something like, I have no idea what the computer evaluation is, and they're like, oh, it's 0.3, white is better. like no, don't tell me, please. Yeah, I mean, main problem for white is this light squared bishop. If it was on a better diagonal, I think white would be happier, but here it's hard to get this bishop into the game. Okay, rook e2. Interesting move, very flexible. So knight d4, I would guess he wants to put the rook on f2. So I have a lot of moves here. I can try rook c8. I can try knight d4. I'm actually thinking maybe f6 is not worth playing, because then rook f2, king g7, g5. He starts to kind of break things down. Even there, rook b6. I think I'm okay, but I don't think I have to give him this, so I don't really see the point of that. Question is, how am I going to target his pawns? Knight d4, rook f2. Could go rook c8, rook c7, d6, rook d7. Yeah, this pawn's not going anywhere. Okay, I can try that. And we are playing with 10-second increments, so I'm not too worried about some time scramble. Okay, so now he wants maybe h4 and activate his bishop this way. Makes a lot of sense. Could go rook c1, just trade off one pair of rooks. Yeah, that's what I need to do. Just trade off the rook so that his rook can't do anything against my f-pawn. I mean, rook c1, that was such an awkward way to trade. Take rook c2. Just worry that his pawn is going to queen somewhere. Yeah, I'm not sure I want to do that. Okay, let's keep thinking here. Knight d4. Rook c7. Yeah, I'm kind of losing the thread here. Okay. Oh no. Oh, that's a brutal mouse slip. I think I'm just gonna have to resign. Oh man. Yeah, that's on me. Oh my god, what a way to lose a game. That's really brutal. Well, let's analyze it. That was disgusting. I do feel like I was actually not super comfortable here, so I'm wondering what I was supposed to do... Yeah, that's kind of a bummer because I feel like my position was pretty much fine. Yeah, actually, maybe I should have played h6 here. And I stop him from playing g5 because what I was worried about at the end is that rook c7, rook f2, and then I didn't like that h4, bishop h3, d6 is coming. I guess the engine doesn't really care. Just like knight d4, let's say h4, rook b3, b6, bishop h3. Okay, this pawn is under control. Oh, and then maybe knight b5. Yeah, bringing the knight back to d6. Yeah, this was the main plan I wasn't finding. Yeah, Alquantar, I don't think there are any takebacks on chess.com, so yeah, what can you do? It's like, I mean, from his point of view, you know, he could offer a draw, I guess, but that's not really fair to him. Like, he was still trying to win the game, so this one's kind of on me. Yeah, the only thing is not to let it affect the rest of the match, although 1 point is oh, so brutal to give that away like that. But okay, what can you do? Whew. All right, we agreed we would take a quick break in between games, but I think we'll be starting reasonably soon. I'm just gonna send a rematch. Okay, here we go, game 2. All right, just gotta forget about that one. Ugh, so brutal. All right, well, I'm mainly a d4 player. For this match, I prepared e4. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Okay. He's played the French. This is his main opening, so this is kind of what I was expecting. Yeah, he's pretty consistent with the openings, even in online chess. Well, it's a training match. I mean, again, I have a lot of experience with d4, so I decided to play e4, get some more experience in these types of positions. Hopefully it'll help my chess overall. Yeah, if we had played on Lichess, then maybe I would have asked for a take back. I think I would give him one for sure if he did something similar, because it's kind of pointless to like win a match based on a mouse slip. I mean, not that it doesn't really doesn't really tell the whole story. And this is a friendly match. Unlike you know, Lawrence Trent versus Greg Shahade, which is coming up later today. I guess you can consider this kind of an undercard for that. Okay, he goes for knight f6. So typically he's played c5 in the past. Here he decides to go for this line. So that's quite okay with me. I don't think these lines are, I mean, they're very complicated, but I feel like white is typically slightly comfortable in these positions. So I'm looking forward to playing a Tarrasch French. Wow, thanks, Zeros Lex. I'm number 2600, huh? I mean, that's pretty good. Okay, knight e2. So this is a typical setup. Other knight can come to f3. Yeah, you know, I was expecting a lot of things in this match. I wasn't expecting to mouse slip. It's kind of a bummer. But okay, the game was interesting, and you can still learn from it. All right, bishop d6, knight f3. Now I'd expect maybe queen c7 or castles. Probably queen c7. A lot of players play this way because they want to avoid white playing bishop f4. We'll see what he comes up with here. Okay, he just castles. Okay, now white has a lot of ways to develop. This move bishop f4 is reasonable. I'm going to go with knight g3. I think this is an interesting way of playing the position. I feel like this knight is kind of well placed here. Sometimes it has ideas of going to h5. It's also controlling the e4 square. It's blocking this diagonal, so there are not many tactics against the h2 pawn. Now black has a lot of moves. Again, I would expect queen c7. I think this is the most natural move for black. Bishop d7 also feels possible. One of black's main ideas, of course, being to bring the bishop out. Okay, he goes for queen b6. Kind of an interesting move. He's not really threatening the d4 pawn, but he is putting pressure and also putting some pressure against b2. So now I'm very much on my own here. Rook e1 looks quite natural because this pawn is not hanging yet. You can also play something like a3. Yeah, let's go with rook e1. Hopefully I'm not running into any nasty tricks here, like e5 takes knight g4, this kind of stuff. Yeah, a3 is definitely a reasonable move. Don't have a ton of knowledge about this position. I've always just felt that, like, okay, rook e1 is better to start with, just to try to control the e6 e5 break, because this is one of black's main ideas. So I was worried that a3 e5 might already be possible for black. But here it's, I mean, there are tricks like e5 takes knight g4, but I don't think that works here. I can take on d6, queen f2, king h1, or knight f2, and just bishop e3. Okay, he just goes bishop d7, normal move. Now let's see. So bishop d2 I really want to play and put the bishop on c3, but the problem is you can take on d4. So maybe I should just play a3 here. Rook a e8, b4, e5. Now I could just develop bishop e3 here. Because knight g4, I think this will run into bishop takes h7 check and then knight g5. If queen takes b2, rook b1. Queen takes a2. Rook takes b7. I mean, it's a pawn sacrifice, but it always feels very risky for black to do this. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for it. If he wants to, yeah, take both pawns, then okay, we'll play that position. But I like bishop e3 because it's kind of stopping e5 for the moment. And I have ideas of playing knight e5 as well. Always using this discovered attack. not sure. We'll see. But yeah, maybe if he goes something like h6, trying to play knight g4, I can just go knight e5. Which actually feels very nice. Also hitting the g6 square. Okay, rook a e8. It's not really threatening to play e5 because I can just take it. So maybe I have time. I could play knight e5 right now, which might be annoying. Could also just play a3. Yeah, I think I should go for this one. I think it's now time. Because then if I play b4, I'll have a nice clamp on the position. I don't love the idea of playing h3 because it does kind of weaken my knight on g3. Then after queen c7, I might have an awkward question to deal with. So I feel like white shouldn't really play h3 unless you absolutely have to here. I could be wrong on that. I'm not totally sure. That's just my feeling. Yeah, even black can consider just taking and going like knight e4 or something. I'm not sure. So okay, so from here I have a couple moves. I have b4, queen c2. One idea is like queen c2, knight g5, and just trying to put some pressure on the king side on the h7 square. There's also ideas of, let's say, pulling the bishop back and going queen d3. It's kind of slow, but it's pretty effective. Queen d3, knight h5, knight g5, all these things. So my feeling has always been, yeah, if black doesn't create some dynamic counterplay, then the position is slowly just getting better for white. But yeah, it's still a very, very double-edged fight, I think. I used to play the French as black quite a bit. I would play these types of lines, and yeah, I was never super comfortable with this e6 pawn. I feel like it's just kind of a long-term weakness. So at this point, it's kind of like now or never for queen takes b2. I feel like he might be considering it, because like queen takes b2, rook b1, queen takes a3, take on b7. He's got an extra pawn there, but maybe I have some decent compensation. Just the rook on b7 feels very strong, like putting a lot of pressure. But it might not be enough. I mean, who knows? Okay, and he's gone for it. So I guess we'll find out. So there's knight b4, but I just go back bishop b1. Bishop c6? Is that an idea there? Is my rook getting trapped? Oh boy. I feel like I might be walking into something that I'm not super happy about. Yeah, bishop c1 is an idea, but close to trapped is not is not as good as actually trapped. So like knight b4, he's hitting the bishop on d3. So bishop c1, queen can take there. Yeah, I don't know. Knight b4 looks kind of like an annoying move. Maybe I have to go bishop b5, but it's not really what I would want to do. Okay, he just goes rook b8. Yeah, I feel like knight b4 there was potentially very strong. I'm really not sure what I would have done. Okay, this is a pretty sensible move, just trying to trade off the rooks. Now I'm wondering, once again, why did I give up a pawn, but I don't know, maybe I still have some, yeah, I'm not sure if it's really enough. It kind of feels like he should be alright, but okay, we'll see. Could take on d7, knight d7. It is kind of interesting. Knight takes, queen c2. But just knight f6 back. If I take, oh, well, take here. Yeah, I don't think it's quite working. Take, bishop h7, king takes, check, queen takes c6, knight just moves. Yeah, I don't think I have a lot of compensation there. Could go take, bishop c1. Queen c3, take on e6. No idea what's happening there. Take, knight g5. Knight goes back to f6. Maybe knight h5. Yeah, actually, I kind of like take, knight g5. And e6 is also hanging. Really can't tell if it's enough, but it does look interesting. And if I just take on b8, then not sure how much compensation I'm getting. Take, knight g5. I think he has to go knight f6, otherwise queen h5 is going to be a huge problem. And then can go knight h5 there. Can also take on e6. Some rook e8. Yeah, it could be some compensation. Yeah, I know, so hard to calculate. Gosh, but I feel like I should go for this one. It does look dangerous. Because it's just hard for him to actually create real counterplay. Like, he has these one move ideas like knight b4, but then I just go back bishop b1 or bishop b4. Okay, I move my rook. He doesn't really have a lot to make counterplay with. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I would love to, after knight d7, just go bishop h7, but I don't think that one is working. Take, knight g5, king g8. Queen h5, his knight just goes back to f6. So I'm just going to stick with the plan. And go here. Now knight f6 feels pretty forced, just to defend h7, and then I haven't 100% made up my mind what I actually want to play there. Because I could take on e6, which looks tempting, with rook e8. And I feel like I lose the initiative there a little bit. Maybe it's still interesting though. Take on g7, king takes, knight h5 check, takes queen g4, king back, queen d3, h6. Actually, some interesting lines. I don't know, maybe I have something here. It's hard to believe, but knight f6, knight takes e6, rook e8, knight takes g7. If king takes g7, knight f5 check, king h8 doesn't seem to lead anywhere. But I could play knight h5 check. The idea being knight takes h5, queen g4 check. If king h8, I just take on h5 first, so king is still on g7. The point is queen takes d3, bishop h6 check at the end, and rook will be hanging with check, possibly mate. So this line actually looks really interesting. I can also just go knight h5 here, which looks very dangerous for black as well. Because takes, I take on h7, of course. If g6, maybe take on e6. Oh, but then knight h5. Yeah, so knight h5, g6 seems to be a problem. Take, knight h7 though. King takes, check, king g8. Bishop takes g6. Not clear. Okay, let's think about knight takes e6, because this looked really interesting. I mean, I can win some material with knight takes h7, queen c2 check, but I think I'm just going to be down in exchange. So yeah, I think I have to take on e6 here, rook e8. Take on g7, if rook e3, king takes, knight f5 check. Actually, knight h5 also looks dangerous there as well. Ooh, sharp stuff. Takes rook e8. And g5 back, also possible. I like taking on g7, king takes, knight h5 takes, queen takes. Down a rook, but some threats. Definitely some threats. Queen d3, bishop h6. King f6, bishop g5. That should be at least okay for me. Okay, let's take it. Let's see what happens. I do feel like I might have enough here, but yeah, if I don't find the exact way, then I'm just going to end up down in exchange very quickly. Okay, so rook e8, that was pretty much forced. Knight takes g7. There's also rook takes e3. Rook e3, king takes, f5 check, king goes away. Bishop c1 is an option. Just keeping my knight on e6. Bishop c1. Maybe he goes queen c3. Queen c3, I can go knight f5. Oh boy, running out of time. Yeah, I'm still not sure if I can take on g7 or not. It looks really interesting. I just I just don't know. Take, knight h5 check, take, queen takes. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to go for this one. I don't see anything else. But we'll see. I can honestly say I don't quite believe in it, but I don't exactly see why it's not working 100% either, so yeah. In a rapid situation, I think you just have to take the risk and hope for the best. We'll see. So I guess there's two moves here. I mean, rook takes e3 and king takes g7. So he just goes king g7. Okay. So the idea here was to give knight h5 check, take, and then just take with the queen. Queen takes d3, bishop h6 check. Rook is hanging, he has to go like king f6. Oh, but then queen g5, queen g7 is made. So that line seems to be working. Not exactly sure what he has planned, actually. Kind of confused, because I feel like he took very quickly. So he must have something, but it's possible he didn't quite consider this idea too carefully. Unless I'm just missing something, but I'm not sure. I really don't see what I'm missing. I really thought rook takes e3 was a critical move there, because this one felt okay for white at least. Take, queen takes, queen d3, bishop h6 check. King goes back, I just take on e8 and it's forced mate. Yeah, actually bishop h6 is just forced mate. King f6, I have queen g5, queen g7. But then takes, if he doesn't take on d3, I'm just threatening queen takes h7. And so rook takes e3 kind of feels too late because I'll take this one. And then I definitely have a very powerful attack there. And I'm always happy that the back rank is covered, at least somewhat, with bishop f1. Okay, so the fact that his response didn't come immediately leads me to believe he might have overlooked this one or underestimated this, and so now I'm feeling a lot more optimistic. I think rook takes e3 there was at least fine for black. I really have no idea, but I don't know. It might have just been extra piece for him, or not extra piece, but oh yeah, extra piece. Because at this point I've sacrificed the exchange, and then I sacrificed the piece on g7, so it's like a full rook sacrifice now. But if he goes king f7, then what? Queen f3. Can also just take on f6 and go for the immediate attack. Rook e3, rook e3. Well, I don't know. I mean, he's definitely managed his time well, but his position might be bad now. So it's kind of a give and take. Okay, knight h5. So he clearly has some idea here. But I don't see what it is. Queen d3 is losing. h7 pawn is hanging, and I have bishop h6 as a threat anyway. I guess rook e3 would be the only move I can really come up with here, but should lose. Should lose by force after queen takes h7. I'll just have to figure it out, of course. Yeah, should be bad. I mean, I'm gonna take on e3 soon, and I think he's just gonna get mated. But I'll have to calculate accurately until the end of the game. It does feel like rook e3 is the only move. I mean, I just don't see any other possible defense. And queen and two bishops are just too strong. I guess bishop h2 is possible, but I can go king h1. And all of the threats are still in the position. I don't want to allow, like, king takes h2, queen d6 check, and then maybe he can defend somehow. Although even that looks problematic for black. Yeah, looks very dangerous for black here. I think he strongly underestimated this when he played king takes g7. I'm actually very surprised he didn't spend more time there. I mean, if the sacrifice is not working, then he's just winning. But he should spend some time to make sure that that's the case. But he is going to try something. We know that much. So maybe bishop h2, king h1, rook takes e3. But then the problem with bishop h2 is, like, it fixes my back rank issue. So, okay, I'll go here, but then rook e3, I can even just take and then go here and should be winning attack. Okay, queen takes d3, wow. This looks like a blunder. I'm confused by this one. Maybe he's just giving up. Maybe I'm still missing something, but I don't see what it is. This just looks like game over. Rook takes e8 or king f6, queen g5. Maybe he thought here I have to go here or something. I don't know. But this this turned out to be a good game. Wow. Okay. Probably equalizing the score in the match, so that's cool. And I got to play like a fun 1e4 game. I'm not usually a 1e4 player, so I don't get these like fancy attacking games so often. I feel like Tal. I honestly feel like Mikhail Tal right now. I feel like my attack was not objectively sound, but it ended up working out. And yeah, that's that. Okay, king h8. Oh, he has bishop f8. Oh my god. Oh, I've relaxed way too early. He can still go bishop f8 because he has the back rank. Wow. Yeah, I can't believe that's actually working for him. Hold on. Yeah, this game has just totally forgot about bishop f8. Wow. I thought it was just over. That's on me. Oh, man. Okay, so rook takes c8, bishop f8. Take on b8. Knight takes b8. And I can give a lot of checks. I just can't. Oh, but it's still winning. Rook takes. I take on b8. Thankfully covering the back rank. And then I have queen e5, queen g6, and queen f6. I just have a... I think I still have a win there. Yeah, I almost played queen takes 8 just to be fancy, but that would have been a big problem. So, yeah, my point is, okay, bishop g7, king takes is nothing. Hey, thanks for the follow there. So I take here, and then he has to find a move. Thankfully, I'm covering the back rank. Yeah, I got really lucky here. This is embarrassing. If knight takes, I have queen e5 check, king g8, queen e6 check, king h8, and queen f6 check winning. But if he didn't take there, then I just had rook takes f8 next move, so he didn't really have a choice. But this nice staircase theme is winning for white. No, I mean, this was like super lucky. I actually feel I feel ashamed of this game. I thought I'm just like mating, and I just forgot about my back rank. Ugh, that's rapid chess. See, this is why I need more experience with 1e4, as I'm not used to playing these kinds of like crazy positions. But okay, I mean, in round one, you know, I mouse slipped, so in like a perfectly fine position, I think. So that one was reasonably lucky as well. For my opponent, I can't say which one is more lucky, this one or the previous game. I do wanna quickly analyze this game though, just to see where I could have improved. So I'm gonna check my repertoire. Yeah, I feel very fortunate to have won that game. Yeah, I'm not sure about my move knight g3 in the opening there. I feel like it wasn't that good. Okay, the next game, maybe I can try something else. I don't really know. I guess I'll decide. Guess I'll decide later. Okay, one sec. Just wanted to turn my fan on. And now we're starting game 3. So I didn't really check the opening of this game because it went quite fine for me, so I would 100% be okay with repeating the line here. Yeah, same here, Eros Lex. I really thought I actually just blew it, but I'm very lucky that Rook takes b8 was covering the back rank there. I had not calculated that. I mean, when I played knight takes g7, I thought bishop h6 was game over, so I kind of missed this resource, but that's okay. All right, guys. Hopefully no mouse slips in this one. It looks like he wants to repeat, so I'm happy to do that. Try this line again. Get a little theoretical discussion going. Yeah, actually, my position was good all the way into the endgame. I just didn't see this this plan with knight d4, knight b5, and bringing the knight to d6, where it's controlling f7, blocking the pawn, hitting e4. Like, everything is working for black in that position. So if we get that same endgame, I'll just put the knight on d6, and I should be good. Yeah, if I hadn't mouse slipped that game, it would be a very different match. I mean, no guarantee I would have won the second game, of course. I might have... like a draw in the first game, let's say, would have been fair, and then, okay, second game would be up for anyone, up for anyone's grabs. Okay, e4 a5, knight e1, knight a6. Yeah, I wonder where he's going to. I feel like white should try to repeat. Maybe he'll just avoid f4, because I really think this move is quite dubious. So knight d3, knight d7, this was still the last game. And now if f4, I'm just gonna snap take. No more bluffing. But I think I'll actually adjust. If we get the same line with like a3, knight takes d3, queen takes d3, I think I'll go for knight e5 actually. Queen will go back, and then I'll go a4, bishop d7. I think that's actually clearly better for black than what I did. But I don't think he's going to repeat with f4. Well, I mean, f4 does feel like a very natural move because, I mean, for one hand, you might want to take with the pawn and then try to get this big center. It doesn't work here, but it is a reasonable idea. Taking with the bishop feels like a bit of a concession. It's nice if white can get to play e5, but problem is black is just under total control over this square. So it's yeah, not that easy for white. But to me it seems like if he doesn't play f4, then he's not quite clear on what to do, because he's spending some time here, so clearly he's looking to deviate somehow. I think bishop e3 is the main line, and quite a reasonable move. A3 also makes sense. A3, knight dc5, b4, not quite in time. Okay, so bishop e3. And I think I'm going to go for... just the immediate knight dc5. Now if white takes, knight takes, bishop takes, dc, I think black is usually very happy to get these double pawns in exchange for the dark-scored bishop. Not that these double pawns are normally so great, but if white has to give up the dark-scored bishop for it, then I think I'm quite okay with that. But I wouldn't really expect him to do that. I think usually most players with white feel like they're not getting much there. But it can happen. Yeah, so now again, white has a lot of moves. I think queen d2 is possible, maybe a3, b3, rook b1, knight takes c5. So he's taking a bit of a think here. So I still feel comfortable. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have equalized the match. Not that I really care about winning that much. I mean, obviously I want to win the match, but for me it's kind of a win-win situation as it is, because I mean, these are just like great training games. I get some good experience in these types of positions, and I'm playing the National Open coming up in a couple of days, and so this is a good warm-up for there. See what kind of shape I'm in. Alright, he goes for f4 again. Kind of surprising, but that is his right. So let's see, take on d3, queen takes d3, e takes f4. If gf, I'll go f5. Yeah, National Open will be 9-round tournament, so this year there will be GM norm opportunities. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for this position again. I could take here first, but then I'm slightly concerned about bishop c5. Knight c5, take, gf. Not sure how concerned I should be about that, but yeah, I will be playing for the GM norm. Absolutely. Definitely feel like I should just take first. This seems easier. And then take on f4. Actually, we're getting a similar structure, which I think black should be happy with. I can even go knight c5, knight d7, and then plant my knight on e5, like I've been wanting to do. Okay, this time he goes for gf, but I feel like f5 is a potential issue here. Rocking his structure. Now if e5, I'm just going to take it. He doesn't really get enough there. And otherwise, I get to take and go bishop f5, and basically white is left with this ugly f4 pawn. So it's kind of a tough one. Hey, Cheese. I mean, I have 0 norm, so basically I need 3 norms to get to GM, just like anyone else. I haven't played at all since the woodpecker method. I mean, I've been playing some rapid chess and a lot of training games, but this is actually going to be my first tournament. But I feel like I can definitely say, I mean, it really helped. I mean, if nothing, it was just, I mean, it was like 50 hours of doing tactics over the course of like 4 weeks. So, I mean, that was, if nothing else, yeah, it was just great tactical training. Okay, so now he's inviting me to take on e4. I guess he wants to take with the knight. Could also just play something like b6, but b6 feels a little bit slow. Knight b4, probably goes queen d2. Then my knight on b4 is awkward. Take bishop f5. Queen moves away. I also like the idea of just playing like queen f6 here. Queen f6, e5. Take. I think I'm okay. Could also just play bishop d7. h4. Yeah, I don't really know. Queen f6. I feel like he just goes like rook f2 to defend the b2 pawn. Maybe just bishop d7 there. Rook e8. Yeah, I like queen f6. This seems like a healthy, active move. Yeah, I mean, of course there are no magical solutions to getting better at chess, but it's not as simple as just finding good moves, because like then the question is, you know, how do you get better at finding good moves? It's not like you can just will yourself to be a better player. So the main way to improve, in my opinion, is to do two things. Number one is to study games, either your own games, so you can learn from your mistakes. I shouldn't say either. Your own games, so you can study from your mistakes, and the games of strong players. So for example, if you wanted to learn how to beat the French defense, then I would search, you know, games where 1-0, you know, white beat the French, and study those games and look at some players like Anand, Caruana, Carlsen, who have like pretty good scores against the French. I think all these guys, like, they score pretty well. Study some of their games and look for what kind of ideas they're playing and just analyze, you know, what happened. And then the second part of training is, of course, just improving your calculation ability, which is just useful for every player. And the main way to do that is to solve problems that are reasonably challenging, and then the ones that you don't solve, to analyze them as well and go over the solutions and try to retain the patterns as much as possible. So it's kind of relatively straightforward. It's just hard to do. I mean, it takes time, and chess is a deep game. You know, you learn one thing about one position, it doesn't necessarily apply to other positions. I mean, we all know that, like, okay, 2 bishops is supposed to be an advantage, but it's not an advantage in every position, and in a lot of positions it can vary from being a serious advantage to being a very small edge, and then you have to actually know how to utilize the 2 bishops. So yeah, it's a lot of things to cover in chess. But I would suggest taking your time, choosing one project and working on it. So going through a book of games, or watching one course. I prefer this to like bouncing around too much, doing endgames one day, openings the other day, and then third day, oh, I have to do some tactics now. I don't think that's a great way to do it. I think you should just say, like, okay, I want to improve my tactics, so I'm going to spend 90 minutes a day doing calculation for the next 3-4 weeks. I'll play some games as well, but that's basically going to be my main thing. That's kind of what I was doing with the woodpecker method. I was just spending most of my study time just doing that. Or you can focus on, let's say, learning a bit more about some openings that you play. So if you wanted to study the King's Indian, for example, one book that I've been going through lately, I can show you guys. This Smiran book, King's Indian Warfare. Great book for King's Indian players. It has like a ton of instructive games in here. It's actually not even like a theoretical book. It's not so much for learning the opening, but rather learning the ideas behind the opening and the middle game. So you study some games, you pick up some new ideas, you try to utilize them in your own games, and see what happens, and over time you slowly get better. So yeah, he's taking a bit of a think, which I don't blame him. I feel like white's position is not that easy here, because he doesn't really have a good way to proceed. If he goes e5, it's just a pawn. If he takes on f5, my bishop comes out. And then knight e4, I'll just snap on b2. Meanwhile, I have moves to improve my position. I have like bishop d7 next move, rook e8. And then at some point, maybe I'll just take on e4, maybe go queen h4. King h8 is a move I can throw in. And also, actually, given the chance, I really want to play b6, knight c5 as well. I don't want to go knight c5 before b6, because dc and then e5 would be a big problem. But with b6, I can always just put my knight on c5. Yeah, that is definitely a good thing to do. Stick to the same openings. You build up a lot of experience and understanding of those positions, so over time you definitely will play better. Okay, he's really spending a lot of time here. I mean, 7 minutes. He's down on the clock. And that's not a good situation to be in, because the game is just heating up. Hey, thanks for following. GTag33. So now I'm just expecting a move. I feel like by this point he should have just played something. Okay, c5. Wow. That is some sharp stuff. I can't say I was expecting this move, because I really wasn't. Okay, the idea is clear. He wants to get e5. So this is like a positional pawn sacrifice, but I don't really have to take it. I can also take on e4. Knight takes e4. You can also start with knight b4. Where is he going? Knight b4. Queen somewhere. Maybe queen c4. Certainly very possible. I mean, he's not really threatening anything still. So I have half a mind to just play like bishop d7, just go haha, which actually doesn't seem that bad. I mean, take knight e4, take on b2, he takes on d6. It's possible. It feels unclear for sure. But yeah, part of me just wants to play bishop d7 here, especially because he spent so much time just to avoid any lines that he calculated. So bishop d7, take, e5, take. Whenever he goes e5, it's good that I can take twice, and then there are no discoveries, because bishop c5, I just take. His queen is hit. Knight b4, queen c4. Oh, but then I have knight c2 actually, so he can't really do this. So knight b4, starting to consider more seriously, because he has to go back either queen d2 or queen e2. But then when I take, if he takes with the knight, I can take on b2. And then I force a queen trade. He ends up taking on d6. Then I still have knight c2 in that position, so I feel like knight b4 is actually quite okay for black. But it might lead to a messy position. Somehow I feel like bishop d7 first is just simpler. But you'll have some c6. Bishop d7, e5, take, c6. Knight b4. Maybe not, but yeah, maybe I should just go knight b4. Queen d2. Take. Yeah. Don't love it. Yeah, it kind of feels unclear. Bishop d7, e5, take, c6. Then I just feel like I have some issues there. Maybe it's nothing and I'm just fine, but it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, what else can I try? Yeah, I kind of want to go for this one. I feel like this gives me a healthy position. I would expect queen d2 here. Feels like most natural move. Take a3, I can just go back. Knight e4, I take on b2. I don't know about all these positions where I'm taking on b2, he's taking on d6. It feels somewhat risky, but I have to believe black is okay there. Maybe I had something better, I'm not really sure. Could have also played a move like b6. If he took twice, I would have rook b8. Rook takes b2 at the end. Could be interesting. But I really need to find a way to mobilize. Yeah, he's spending a lot of time here. I think it's going to be tough for white because the game is still going to be very complicated. Queen b1. Wow. Okay. Seems a little passive, but makes sense. Now if I go bishop d7, maybe a3. Knight back, e5, c6, take. What's going on there? I feel like I'm still okay there. Maybe I'll just go for bishop d7. Could still take knight e4, queen b2. Take. Knight c2. It's always a question. Go for the concrete line or keep your position healthy. Knight c2 just looks very annoying for him there. Don't understand how he gets out of it, actually. Okay. Let's ask the question, because I feel like it's actually quite hard for him. I mean, he can throw an a3. I'm not sure it really helps him that much. But I'm mainly expecting knight e4, and then the line I was thinking about was like queen takes b2. He takes on d6. Oh, bishop takes e4. Wow. That is kind of surprising, because this feels like it's going in the wrong direction. I can go like bishop h3, rook e8. a3 I'll just go back. I don't really care. Bishop h3, rook f3, bishop g4, rook g3, bishop f5. I can also go bishop f5 right away. I kind of like the idea of throwing this one in first, just to see where he goes. Because rook f3, I don't know, feels kind of awkward. But I feel very comfortable with my position, to be honest. I feel like white's structure is weakened, and so if I just get to keep this f5 square, then I'm going to be really happy in the long run. My bishop is good on the diagonal. I have this weakness on d6 potentially, but it's kind of the only thing wrong with my position. Everything else feels good. And I love that I can maybe get my rook in soon to activate. It's really important. Okay, rook f3. Let's go here. Because I don't think his rook is well placed on g3, so I'm happy to push it here. It's just hitting g6. It's not really doing much. I'm going to have a full blockade on the f5 square, so I think a rook on g3 will just be misplaced. And then eventually I'm going to be trying to take the d5 pawn. Yeah, so he goes back, rook f2. Rook is better placed here for sure. Now I think I just want to go rook e8. I feel like this move is so logical and good. There can't be anything too wrong with it. Put some pressure on him on the clock. Hopefully I didn't blunder anything just now. I don't think so. If a3, I'll just happily jump back, and then I'm fighting for the c5 square. Knight b5 is possible, but feels a little bit loose. Maybe I have some tactics there. Some rook e4, bishop f5. Knight d3 business. Okay, I win the exchange back, so it's actually, yeah, not so stupid. Knight b5, rook e4, queen e4, bishop f5. Queen f3, knight d3, hitting both rooks. Okay, he goes for it, but he doesn't really have time to calculate, so I don't blame him just going for it. So take, bishop f5. Queen has to go. Knight d3. I am potentially hanging the c7 pawn, but I think it's well worth it. Because I'm getting the light squared bishop, which in this position feels like a very important piece for white. Now his king is always going to have light square issues. Let's see, if bishop d4, kind of an interesting move. I think I just move my queen. He'll still have some problems to solve. Maybe even queen f7. Then I still have knight d3 coming and hitting his rook. So if he was just losing the exchange, then maybe he can take somewhere here. But if he plays like queen f3, for example, knight d3, I'm hitting the rook for free. Okay, so bishop d4, I think this was a good move. Take, bishop f6, bishop f6 here. I don't get the exchange back. If only there was some way to play queen d7 and hit the knight, but that's not possible. So let's see, what would be the most... Queen f7 makes sense. You can also just play queen d8. d4. Queen d4, knight d4. Kind of like queen h4 here, just putting some pressure on the rooks. Queen f3, knight d3. Maybe take first, then knight d3. Maybe queen f7. Okay, I'm gonna go with this one. I don't know, I kind of like this one, keeping an eye on the d5 pawn. It's really more of a intuitive decision. Now, I don't think I'm gonna flag him at all because we have 10-second increment, so I'm sure he'll be fine. But yeah, I'm definitely getting nervous here. Okay, queen e7. Knight d3. Takes, king takes. He'll have check though. King f6. Ooh, so complicated. Jeez, what have I done? I feel like I had such a safe position and now things are so messy. Maybe I shouldn't have gone for this rook e4. I should have just played it more solidly. But okay. I think I'm still doing fine here. Take on d4. Take on f7. King f7. Knight d4. Knight d3. Maybe I should have played queen h4. I don't know. Okay. Let's go knight d3 first. Yeah, let's take here. If queen f7, I'm gonna go king takes. Okay, he just recaptures. Now knight d3. Whew, complicated stuff, yeah. I just don't have time to calculate everything, so I'm just hoping for the best here. We'll see what happens. Things are going to be decided in this time scramble, that's for sure. So queen f7 check, again I should go king takes, because rook takes, he has rook e8 check. He gets out of the fork. He'll keep his exchange. So I'll take with the king. Okay, knight takes f5. So here I think I'm forced to take with the queen, because gf, rook g2 check. So yeah, I calculated this one before. I thought I would be fine in this endgame. So queen e6, take rook takes, take on f2, and I can take a pawn actually a couple of ways. I can go dc5, I can take on f4. So this should be a good endgame for me. I mean, at least I should be at least holding here, maybe doing well. Somehow I feel like dc5 is the best way. Because rook e7, I can take and then go rook f7. So this seems like a pawn up. So I'm going to try to convert this one. If I win this game, it'll be really good for the match. But draw is still a fine result. But I'm kind of expecting king e3, and then I want to play king f7, which I think kind of freezes him. In fact, I might even win because I have rook e8 coming. Trading rooks with a pawn up endgame should be good in most cases. We'll see. But if king f3, then this runs into g5. Okay, so let's go for this one. Maybe he has to move the king. Oh, but still rook e8 kind of forces a trade of rooks. So I actually feel pretty good about this one. I don't have time to fully evaluate the king and pawn endgame, but it feels like, I mean, extra pawn is usually good, and my pawns here can always create a passed pawn, so I imagine this is alright. Okay, king e4. Now he's actually not threatening to get out other than f5. So I could go rook e8, f5, take here. That should be... should be okay. I'm worried about going into a dangerous king and pawn endgame. Take, king e5, king here. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Hopefully it works out. And the thing is, it's like I think I can just keep pushing on the queen side here. Like c6, b5. I feel like c6 is a good start here. Maybe just b5, king d5. No, I don't want to let his king in so easily. So yeah, let's go here. If a4, I think I go b5. Wait, no, maybe c4 first. King d4, b5. Take, take, king here. a4, take, a3. Yeah, that wins. Oh, king d4 I can also just take. So yeah, I think this move is important because I feel like I'm just getting the outside pass pawn here. But the main idea, okay, king d4 I can actually just take on e6 and I'm fine. But I can also go b5, take, take, and then king c5 I always have a4. Very good idea to know a3, and then I'm breaking through and king is just behind the pawns. So I think this is good. I mean, he can go king f5 here, or maybe h3, but he's going to run out of moves. Then king f5, I just go b5. Yeah, I mean, I can go b5 here. I think there's nothing wrong with just putting him in zugzwang as well. I think this is just simpler. And now next move is b5. Okay, also had a move in reserve. I mean, king d4, take, take, king. I feel like I should just play b5 here. It's just kind of an easier win. More direct. Okay, king c5, I think only move, but and that should be that. Pawns are promoting. Oof, tough game. Yeah, I mean, maybe it was somewhat better to go king c5. Maybe this would have been a better try. But then I think I just take here anyway. He has to take there. I take. And he can't really approach the pawns. I think it's winning at the end. I could be wrong. I'll analyze later. Now I've got to figure out whether or not I'm going to repeat this line that I just played as white. Not really sure. Just checking my notes here. Okay, seems reasonable. I'll play the same line again. We'll see what he comes up with. But now it's 2-1, so he's the one who has to win. Thanks, Cheese says, good game, well played. That was interesting. Yeah, I'm curious about that final endgame position. I think it was winning. Wow, 98.8% accuracy. That's pretty good. So yeah, computer hates this rook takes e4, of course. I should have played queen e7. And then I just have like a very solid position. Yeah, that was unfortunate. This just, because I was much better there, and this just gave him, I mean, he definitely had some chances to equalize. But somewhere things went wrong. Oh yeah, knight takes f5 I guess was wrong. He should have just traded queens, and then it's probably close to equal. And then this endgame turns out to be pretty bad for white. Yeah, king c5. Oh, right. I was thinking about this during the game. Yeah, c3 takes, b takes a4. and then his king is actually stuck. So he can't, I assume you guys can see my board still, yeah. Can't approach the pawns. So yeah, I was just winning. Okay, one more game. So now it's do or die. I'm gonna stick with e4 as I prepared. Now we'll see if he goes for the French, or maybe he does something else. No, sticks to his guns. I think this is the correct approach, because this is the opening he knows best. So he should just go for it again. Okay, knight f6. It looks like we're going to repeat the line. Yeah, I mean, it's a good choice. I mean, I was probably just lost in the last game, so it's on me to kind of improve for this game. Yeah, I think it still leads to a very unbalanced position, so to play for a win, I think it's quite reasonable. Okay, let's castle. Bishop d6, knight f3. Okay, yeah, so I was thinking about maybe just playing h3 here. So this move would not be connected with knight g3. Here I'm probably going to put the knight back on c3, which is another way to play the position. Then I'm sometimes threatening knight b5. I also want to go like knight a4, knight c5 in this case. Put my rook on e1. So I think it's a reasonable attempt. It's a rapid game, so kind of avoiding some theory, not running into any prep, forcing black to think right from the get-go. I think it's very important not to play for a draw in this situation, but rather try to play good moves. Okay, knight c3 looks reasonable here. I think this queen b6 is somewhat misplaced, because I can go knight c3, knight a4, queen a5, bishop d2. I can also just play bishop d2 here, but then takes. Although if he takes the pawn, rook b1, okay, you can go queen a3. I was going to say queen a2. I can actually repeat moves there, so he would he wouldn't be able to go for that. But you can go queen a3. Or actually, yeah, it doesn't even work. Never mind. I think knight c3 is a good move. Threatening knight a4. Of course, he can't take on d4. But now I want to go knight a4 with tempo, and then maybe bishop e3, rook c1, knight a4, knight c5, which I think is a very reasonable plan in this kind of position. Maybe second rook goes to e1, and then at some point bishop b1, queen d3 again. So I feel comfortable here. We'll see how it goes. I think e5 could be possible here. Probably take on e5, knight takes c5, take on e5, bishop takes e5. Then do I have knight takes d5 there? Knight takes d5, queen h5? Yeah, actually, that's kind of a nice trick. I wonder if that's working. I feel like it is. Take, take, knight e5, bishop e5, knight takes d5, knight takes d5. Okay, I also have bishop c4, just winning back the piece. But I was thinking about queen h5 in that position, hitting this, and then also this one. So, yeah, I think that was working. Okay, so bishop d7. Now rook e1 seems quite logical. Knight a4 is also possible. Bishop e3. Bishop e3 takes on b2, knight a4. Queen b4, rook b1, queen a3. Could also start with a3 once again, because I don't think he's threatening to play e5 yet. I think I have the same trick. In a3, the nice thing is I get knight a4, knight c5, and then maybe b4. So I can support this knight. So I think I'll go for this. Also comes with the idea of playing bishop e3, because with the pawn on a3, if he goes queen takes b2, I have knight a4 trapping the queen, and he doesn't have the a3 square. So I think I go bishop e3 here, and then he doesn't have queen c7 yet because of knight b5, which is very annoying. So I think this is okay for me. If he has to go a6 first, then I have time for b4. Maybe knight a4 first, queen c7, b4. Okay, a6. So yeah, clearly he's playing for queen c7 and e5. Rook c1, he can take on b2, so I have to be careful. Knight a4, then he gets to take on a3. Rook a1. Queen b4, bishop d2. Actually, queen is trapped there, so I could go rook c1. Take knight a4. Queen a3, rook a1. Queen b4, bishop d2. Game over. But rook c1 anyway, he can go queen c7, so there's no real point. I think knight a4 makes sense to start with this one. Although, I can force him to spend some time to think about this, because I'm pretty confident in my calculation here. So queen c7, knight a4, and then I'm stopping e5, and then I want to go knight c5. So yeah, let's go this one. And then if I did miscalculate something, he can prove it to me. But I think the pawn is poisoned, so I would be surprised if he ends up taking it. But I do want him to burn some clock thinking about it. No, it's really not that hard to calculate, because like, okay, queen b2, he knows my idea is to play knight a4. Only move there is queen a3, and then it's like rook a1, queen b4 only move, bishop d2, queen is trapped. So there's not a whole lot there's not a whole lot to calculate there, so I would be surprised if he goes for that. But position is good. I feel like as long as I can keep e5 under control, then my position should be at least slightly better. Okay, queen d8. So he wants e5 without being pinned. That makes sense. So maybe b4, or maybe rook e1. Actually, I kind of like the idea of playing bishop b1. Then e5, take, knight d5 pawn will be hanging. Or I could play b4 first, or knight a4. I can still follow up with this plan. Knight a4, e5, takes, knight takes, bishop takes. I think that's reasonable for white, but I'm not sure. Yeah, let's go here. Also, after e5, I mean, he really has to think about moves like bishop a2, because the d5 pawn will be very vulnerable. So this seems like a nice multi-purpose move. I'm also having entertaining ideas of queen d3 and trying to get some kingside play going, something like knight g5, h6, knight h7, this kind of stuff. So it seems reasonable. Sorry guys, I might need to blow my nose again. Getting some allergies or something. Alright, now I'm just waiting on his move. I'm honestly very unclear what black does here. Because if he doesn't play e5, then, well, this is his main plan. So we'll see. Okay, rook e7. Okay, interesting move. I think he wants to maybe go this way. What to do? I mean, b4 is natural, and bishop e8. He wants to go bishop h5. Maybe bishop e8, I can go knight g5. Not sure. I can also go knight e5 here, because if he takes twice, I have bishop c5 at the end. But what am I getting from this? Because knight e5, he goes bishop e8. Could take on c6 there. Somehow I don't really know if this is helping me or not. Okay, you can go knight a4, bishop e8, knight c5, bishop h5, take on a6. Would be somewhat concerned about his play though. I'm not sure I really want to allow this. Hmm. Yeah, I'm not clear what to do here. Yeah, very unclear how to proceed. Maybe just knight a4, knight c5, bishop h5. Take on a6. Knight e4, g4. Yeah, I think I have to just go for my plan. I don't know. Can't spend too much time. Just gotta go for it. Yeah, interesting moment there. Definitely a very interesting position to analyze later, because I just wasn't sure what my plan should be. So we go on to analyze. Now he has a lot of moves. He has bishop e8. He could even consider e5 now that my knight's not on c3. Somehow I feel like e5 should be leading to better position for white anyway, though. Ooh. Okay, bishop e8. Could also just come back, bishop d3, bishop h5, bishop e2. But I think I should start with knight c5. This is my plan. I should stick to it. Actually, bishop h5 I can take on b7 with tempo. I was thinking knight takes a6, but then I just win the pawn. I don't really do anything. You can go like knight e4 or something, trying to get some play against this. I was thinking like g4 there, but it looks risky. But actually, bishop h5 I can take on b7 with tempo. And rook takes c6, and then the position kind of explodes, but I feel like it should be in white's favor because his a6 pawn is going to be weak. I mean, you can take on b2, but somehow it feels somewhat dangerous for him. He might not have a choice though. I mean, b7, a6 are potentially hanging, and you can't just live with the bishop on e8 forever. So this one does have to get out. Yeah, we'll see. Should be a take, rook b2. Maybe bishop d3 there. Trying to play here. Let's go queen c1. Take on f3, take on b2. be working. Take. One is probably dangerous. Oh, e5, wow, okay. This is another direction. I feel like I should probably take knight e5, take, bishop takes, bishop d4, knight d3 also possible. I like knight d3 there, and then bishop moves, bishop d4, bishop f4, just trying to take control. Yeah, let's take. We're finally gonna play a nice Alani here. That is what's gonna happen next. So now I like the idea of playing knight d3 after bishop e5 because I threaten the bishop, and I also have bishop c5 ideas as well as bishop f4. Bishop d4, bishop h5 also possible. So queen d2. I feel like gets knight e4. I think knight d3 just seems like a much safer move. Bishop h5, queen d2. d4, I just take on e5. Can also play queen b3 after bishop h5. I'm certainly not committed to queen d2. Yeah, I feel like these positions are usually better for white, but they're very double-edged. If black gets play, then black is fine. If not, then this d5 pawn is just a real nuisance to have to defend. Because I have bishop a2, I have knight f4, bishop f4, bishop c5. I have a lot of moves to kind of put pressure on black's position here, so I feel comfortable. I feel very comfortable here. And I don't think he can really give up the dark square bishop. And d4 immediately, just knight takes e5, and his queen on d8 is hanging, so it's kind of a blunder. Bishop h5 seems quite possible. Then I can even consider g4 actually, because I don't think he can sacrifice anything, and both of his bishops are kind of hanging. So yeah, maybe bishop h5, g4 is a problem. Then I have bishop c5 coming. Yeah, so it feels like bishop d6 might be the only move here to prevent bishop c5. Or at least prevent it from winning the exchange. I might might play bishop c5 there anyway to force the trade of bishops, which would be in white's favor. But I can also play a move like bishop d4 and just try to take control over this diagonal. Then bishop h5, queen b3 or something. Yeah, still a sharp game here. Okay, bishop d6 on the board. Now I have bishop f4, bishop c5. Bishop c5 just feels like the most promising move. Take, maybe knight takes. Yeah, I just feel like usually it's in white's favor to trade off the dark square bishop, so I'm not going to overthink it and just go for something simple and solid. And take, I probably take with the knight. I was thinking about taking with the rook, but then knight e4 comes with tempo, and I don't have any rook d5, bishop a2 tactics, which would be really nice. So I would just have to go back, and then I think white is still better, but why give the tempo? If I can just take with the knight, then I'm maybe putting pressure on b7. He can't really play b6 without weakening himself. You can play b6 because it takes knight, bishop b5 he has, but I think b6 I just go back. Okay, so knight e4. This seems like a more active move. Now I should probably just take. Okay, queen d6, and now it's time to put pressure on this pawn. So bishop a2 feels like a very nice move right now. Knight b4 is also actually a problem for black. Ooh, I like knight b4 because I'm threatening to take. I might be threatening to take on e4. And he has to defend the pawn somehow. Maybe bishop c6. But that position is worse. Even queen d4. I don't think he's going to be happy playing with his bishop on c6. Could play bishop f7. And he kind of blocks his rook, so that's not really ideal either. Could start with this one. I kind of like this one. I like having the option of always being able to take on e4 and not letting him take with the pawn. So forcing him to take with the rook, and then maybe I can get my knight to d4, though I'm not really sure if I'll end up taking or not. But here I'm just asking the question, you know, how are you going to defend the d5 pawn? Bishop f7, maybe I go bishop a2, d4, take, knight d3, kind of reasonable. Okay, you can also go rook e1, maybe bishop f7, rook e1, although knight takes f2, yeah, that's a problem there. King takes f2, bishop h5 check. Okay, so I have to watch out for knight f2 ideas. So bishop f7, rook e1, not working because of this one, I think. And king takes bishop h5. So against bishop f7, I would have to play something else. I could take on e4, rook e4, then rook e1. But I don't feel like I'm really getting that much there. Black might be just totally fine. Somehow this knight on b4 is not the most solid piece. It's nice that it's defended, but I can always get hit with a5 but okay, you know, it's one thing to blockade the Isolani, but a lot of times it's nice to just put pressure on it. Of course, the classic setup would be to get like bishop d3, knight c2, knight d4. That would be really nice. And then white would just be undoubtedly better, but still, at some point you have to actually win the pawn. So it's never so easy. Okay, bishop b5. This move I missed. But I'm not too scared. Okay, I could just take on d5 with check. Takes, knight takes. Rook d7? I'm just taking on e4. Yeah, I don't think this is working for black. Queen d5. If king moves, I just take on e4. Queen d5 takes, knight takes. Hitting the rook. Rook moves to e5. Bishop takes e4. Ooh, bishop takes f1. Okay, so not so easy. But I could just go rook e1 there, rook takes d5, take on e4, and pawn up. Because he can't really take on f2. So as long as I'm not losing the exchange somehow, I should be alright. So take. He has to go rook e5, then I just go rook e1. Threatening to take on e4. He's all pinned up, so he has issues, has to probably take my knight. But that'll just be pawn up. So I think I'm okay with this. And I'm gonna try to win the game. I mean, I don't need to win the match. It doesn't. We're not playing for anything. It doesn't mean anything. 2-2 would be fine. So if I end up losing the game because I try to win with an extra pawn, so be it. I don't really. It's not important. You got to play for the win when you have an extra pawn. Hey, thanks for following. Call of Duty 568173. Just curious, how did you come up with those numbers? Were they random or do they mean something to you? So rook d7 here, and then I just take on e4, and I have 2 pieces for the rook. So I feel like he has to go rook e5. And then, yeah, bishop takes e4 was my original idea, but bishop takes f1. I think he ends up with an extra exchange there. So I'm just going to go rook e1. And he can take on f2, but the problem is knight is hanging, so his rook doesn't really go anywhere. If knight f2, I just take on e5. Otherwise, I'm threatening to take on e4. So rook d5, yeah, this was pretty much forced. Okay, now if I take, he wants to go rook d2. Okay, so some compensation still. Oh, but I have bishop a2 actually. Oh, this move might just be killing, huh? Bishop a2, knight f6 is forced. And then maybe I just pile up on the rook. Rook e5, but bishop c6. I'm going to end up with 2 pieces for the rook eventually. So that position's not super clear. I think, yeah, just knight f6. Okay, but then how to proceed? Because he wants to go rook d2 next. Okay, I think I should just take rook d2. I think I just go bishop f3 here. And then I just want to come in with rook c7, rook e7. So I'm happy to give back the pawn. Could also play f3 here, but then my rooks don't get as active. Actually, I do have bishop d5 check. Yeah, actually, I think I'm going to go with f3 here. I think this is stronger. Because if he takes on b2, I'll go rook c7. And then I have ideas of bishop d5 check, and then followed by rook e7. And his 7th rank is very weak. So I don't care about the pawn. I'm going to give back the pawn, but just try to go for that 7th rank. I think this is what I have to do. And if he goes bishop c6... I just take and I go rook e7, and I think it's just losing. And it's nice that he doesn't have any of these moves because of bishop d5. And okay, I can go up a pawn, and then I have like a4 as a threat. But mainly I just want to go after that 7th rank. Okay, rook d8 is possible. This bishop is covering the e8 square. Maybe I should have played bishop f3, because then I would be getting this for sure, but it's not important. Rook d8 definitely seems like the only move for black to keep their chances alive. I mean, even just to save the game, because I think white is definitely better in this endgame, but the question is whether it's actually good or not. Still unclear. I mean, when the rook gets to d2, I always have f4 if I want, so I'm not really nervous about that. But it's kind of a shame that I don't get to to get the 7th rank myself, because I really really enjoy getting the 2 rooks to the 7th. Who doesn't? Who doesn't though? And then he doesn't have bishop c6 at the end of the line with rook d2, because I take, and then rook e8 mates. So I get there first. But I can also... So I feel like rook d8 I can just take this one. Then rook d2 I go f4. See, I'm also thinking about bishop f5, then check, king e7. No, I don't think it's this. So I think I take rook d2, I go f4. And I should be at least okay. Oh yeah, he doesn't even have bishop c6 in that line. Okay, so f4. Now I would expect like rook e2 or something. Then maybe bishop d5 check. So he has to be careful. Bishop d5, king f8, rook c1, something like this. Hard to say. Ah, but okay, I can just take bishop d5, king f8, rook f7, king e8, rook takes g7. Game over. Just winning the king side there. Yeah, I think his position is still difficult. Bishop d3, I have bishop d5, forced mate. Okay, this one's just looks like a blunder. Bishop d5 check, king f8, rook f7 is winning the game. Ace 1886, bishop takes b7 earlier. Yeah, I think it was possible, but then still rook d2, I have to go f4. And so it just felt a little bit like, you know, I'd rather have my bishop nice and centralized, but okay. I don't want to slow roll here. The game is over. Because I'm getting the back rank. King h8, rook b8 check, king f8, rook f7 check, king g8, rook f6. Nice way to finish. Okay, can also throw rook e8 check, but it's kind of pointless. All right, so that was a decent game. I mean, of course, based on the match situation, my opponent had to play for a win, so he probably played maybe more aggressively than he would have normally, and that always gives you more chances to actually win the decisive game. But I feel like it was pretty good. Chess.com is telling me you had the advantage from start to finish. Yeah, I feel like here he played e5. I thought maybe bishop h5 was critical, but it's hard because he has to be willing to allow knight takes b7. That's not easy. But once we got this IQP, I felt quite comfortable. Especially here when I got to trade the dark squared bishops, and then the critical point was here. He thought for a while, played bishop b5. I think it was a good try. I mean, in a time scramble, it's always good to just pose tactical problems, but I had enough time to kind of figure out that I'm just taking on e4 and then having a good endgame there. All right. So yeah, overall, I feel pretty happy with my play today. I mean, I did lose one game, but I can pretend and say it was because I mouse slipped and not because my position was maybe somewhat awkward. Oh, it looks like he's rating. Yeah, we didn't really talk about what we would do after the match, but maybe that makes sense. Rating is is nice. Hey Matt, yeah, thanks for the kind wishes. Yeah, good match to you as well. Was really interesting. Yeah, I'm glad we got to play these games, and hopefully we can do it again. So yeah, thanks guys. Shout out to everyone joining from Matt's stream. It was like some nice games. Really interesting. I feel bad. I like kind of spoiled the first game. But what can you do? No, I feel like the second game was very lucky for me. To be honest, I missed Bishop F8 in that position. I thought it was just over, and then I'm just very lucky that I had this Rook takes B8 covering the back rank. So I feel like I just got extremely lucky in that game, to be honest, because I didn't really calculate accurately from when the sacrifice actually happened. But okay, yeah, it's always gonna be complicated there.